Hello friends, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. This is Sherry and my channel is Turquoise Dreaming. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, I do paper crafting, make junk journals, do thrift hauls, so all those fun things. So just if you haven't subscribed or if you're new, just go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my next video. So I'm super excited to do a flip through of this journal for you today. I did not make any of this on video, but I will do so in the future. If you would like to see how I made anything in here, maybe give me specifics of what you would like to see, and I can focus on that, or I can just do a start to finish. But yeah, let's do a flip through. It's a sewing pattern journal, and I have made several of these before. It's been probably a year or so since I made the last one, I think. And so each time I make one, I always think about the cover, because these sewing patterns, all of the ones I've ever used have been vintage or very vintage, you know what I mean? So I feel like they're kind of delicate. So I went from using, I think I've put some kind of covering on all of them, but I remember the last one I used kind of spray Mod Podge, if you've ever seen that. I got mine at Walmart, and it's a spray Mod Podge, so I would put a light coating of that, so you can't even tell it's there really, but it was a protection. But this time I kind of, I think I dreamed about this, but I'll show you what I did. So I've got this pretty closure here. It's a piece of fabric. It's a long strip. It's wrapped around twice, so if whoever gets this in the end can actually make this smaller if they want, and cut pieces off and use it elsewhere, either in this journal or in your crafts if you would like a piece of this. It's a really pretty, nice kind of deep or almost royal blue, or I don't, navy blue, royal blue gingham check here. It's frayed on both sides, so it's really, really pretty. And I got this in Happy Mail from a friend, so isn't it beautiful? And so here's the journal. Here's a little goodie envelope there. But what I did was cover the front with, I laminated it. So I think I dreamed about that, like I said, and I was like, just kind of all of a sudden dawned on me, why don't I laminate? I have a laminator. I have laminating sheets. Why don't I try laminating it? And I love it because I feel like this is really a nice, as far as durable. I don't think I can get any more durable than that, this cover. So, and this is a vintage, this is not a copy. Everything in here is no digis, no copies, whatever. Everything's vintage, or I've picked up at thrift stores, except for the scrapbook paper. And actually, some of my scrapbook paper I do get at thrift stores. So the ones in here I think were new though. So that's the only thing that's new. But I didn't buy anything special. It's just everything trying to use things I have so that I can reduce, what I have in my craft room here. Not that I'm overwhelmed, but just, like to keep things in check here. So anyway, look at this cute, stylish ladies here on the cover. It's a simplicity pattern, 50 cents at the time this was made. So anyway, yeah, I sewed it all the way around too for extra durability, and I like the sewing. I like sewing on the, sewing journals anyway. So, and then I used some blue and white baker's twine to bind it. Here's the back. So I did use the whole pattern, front and back. And even kept the little, I was getting worried like I might have to cut off the little measuring tape here that's on the back of this pattern, but I was able to keep it. It's just the right size to have the covers, the same size. Here's what it looks like on the side and the top. So let's get started with a little flip through here. Let me see, let me get my timer going there. So yeah, on the inside of the covers, I use cardstock. And of course, I'm going to do that to make further make the cover durable and strengthen the cover. So it's a nice kind of cardstock, cardstock thickness cover. And then I put pockets, the side pockets here on both the front and the back. And I have some measuring tape ribbon that I put here a little bit on the front cover, inside the front cover, on the pocket and here too. So, and then I used some pretty scrapbook papers in here. So here is a piece here that I thought it came from this same paper pad, so of course it coordinates very well. So in this pocket, I have a video, I don't know if I published it at the time you're seeing this, but I have a video where I made journaling cards out of a sewing booklet. So this is one of them, and I just cut out, there were pictures of these models on the front and the back, so I thought that was so cool. And you know, like when I buy these things, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I just think they're cool and I bring them home. And then here's what I ended up doing with the models pictures. I made journaling cards, so I put pretty cardstock on the back so that you have a pretty place to write if you want to use it for journaling, or you can always glue these down as pockets or a centerpiece or whatever you want to do. And then here's a little piece of note paper, and you can see it's from a little notebook. You can see a little holes here, and it says shopping list, and there's lots of lines on the front and back. I just thought that was a neat little notepad that I had found one time in my thrifting. So we'll put those back in there. And then I started it out with a piece of wallpaper. This has a sewing theme wallpaper border that was sent to me in Happy Mail also by Maria. And here's a doily here. And then we move on to the next page, which is has a pocket. This is the wallpaper, which I flipped over and made a little pocket. We've got a yo-yo here, and in this pocket I have another piece of notepad, which I think is so cool. It's got a graph design on it from a company, but I found it at a thrift store, and I just thought this was the blue and white graph, and with this, you know, company kind of letterhead there. I just think that was neat. I like these stuff like that. And then a card. This is thank you card, a really pretty one that you can use for journaling. You can always glue these down or just use it for journaling and stick it back in a pocket. And then also that same sewing booklet had this kind of, it was like a banner on the top, and I cut it. There was two pieces that I cut in half, and you'll see the other piece. I'll show you in a second. But after I cut them out, I was like, and maybe you've seen the video already. I don't know if I've published it yet at the time you're seeing this, like I said, but it reminded me of a clothing tag. So I made a little, you know, I put the cardstock on the back and punched a hole. I was planning on making it into a journaling card and leaving it that no holes punched or baker's twine. But when I punched it out, I was like, well, that really looks like a clothing tag. Let's go ahead and make it into a tag. So I added the hole punch and the baker's twine here. I think it really turned out cute, and it really looks like something you would find hanging on your clothes. I thought, I love the font on here, kind of that. This was that booklet was a 1968 booklet, so it really has that kind of you know, retro font too. So I like that about it. So those are in there. We've got some onion skin paper here, but this was in one of the sewing booklets, not this one, but another one. It was somebody, you'll see on the other side, somebody typed, I think it was typed or wrote something on it and stapled inside their sewing booklet. So you'll see the other, this side's blank, but I like to put that in journals anyway. Some pretty blue lined paper, and I do have a couple bits of trim in here, so you can see the light blue pom-pom trim here on this page. This is from the instructions from a sewing pattern, and this was actually the end page in one of my sewing books. And then this was also from a sewing book. Look, I thought that was really neat with all the different pins and sewing needles. It was it was a crochet book. Yep. Or it might have been from a book that has all different kinds of sewing, but this looks like a crochet page. A green lined page here. Another page from a sewing book. And this page is also, this gold page here was from a sewing book also, the end page, another one. And I used a little snap card here. It's got its original snaps in there. Two are missing, but I thought this was a really pretty one when I picked it up. When I picked these up from the thrift store, I usually try to get I like the colorful ones, and look, it was 15 cents originally, and try to get the ones with the most, you know, snaps or buttons or whatever on there. So that was a really nice one. And this also I found at a thrift store. It came like this with this little kind of glassine bag, kind of browned, as you can see, delicate, but I left it together for someone could do what they want with it. But it came with this little sample stitching here. So that is original. You know, I didn't make this. It was a really cool thing that I found at a thrift store. It says Floss A on here, and it has this pretty green. So you can make that into a tag and add some fabric, or a loop, or use it for a journaling card. But all this aging on here is all natural, so that's a fun thing there. And then on this side, I added this is original, an actual piece from a measuring tape. I added to this pocket here to decorate it. And then here in the pocket I have a piece of note paper, pretty blue, so you can glue that down somewhere if you want to turn a page into a writing spot, or just write on it and put it in a pocket. And this is a little piece from, wrapped around, it says hem facing here, so it's wrapped around a piece of hem facing, and I keep these, and especially the ones with something on the back. I might have thought of this about the same time I thought of putting the laminating the front cover, because I was already thinking about laminating these because I think they're so cool, and I didn't want to cover, like I was already thinking about making them into tags, but I thought, well, I don't want to cover this up because it's so cool. It has head kerchief instructions here, so isn't that cool? And whatever aging you see through this laminating is natural, all the worn and everything spaces. And then I put a little ribbon up here, so it's a little tag that is actual original wrapping from hem facing. Instructions there from a sewing pattern, and this is from a book, just sewing instructions from a book. Some pretty scrapbook paper. On the back of this scrapbook paper, I spritzed it with green spray, food coloring, so you could have some color there and not just plain white. Here's the pocket here, a little tag here I made from scraps. And this is also a little card that I made from little scraps squares here. Let's see how does it open. So that's a little card that can be journaling space. Here's some peek rickrack on this page, and a page from a sewing book. I have several different sewing books, so I kind of got them all out and took pretty pages from them. So the next page here is an envelope. Oh no, it's a page. Hold on. This is a page. This I just had separate that had clothing and shoes and things on it. So I put it with my sewing stuff. I thought it was really neat. So you can write on here, you can color on here, whatever you want to do. And then I put an envelope here. Let me put this down for a second. An envelope here that is, the flap is glued onto the other side. Oh, let me take this. I've got paper clips everywhere here with stuff clipped in here for you. But this is a tag I made from, or a journaling card that I made from scraps, and it turned out really pretty. It's sewn around. So I slipped that in there, in the envelope. And let me just get that back in there. Really quick, maybe not, maybe not so quick. There we go. And then on this side I had clipped, this is the scrap from the laminating sheet, but I thought it looked so cool with all these little squares, and this is kind of papery. This is, like the laminating material over here. So you could use this for something, or you could use this side for something. Cut it down to fit somewhere, or just use it in a separate piece of, cut this off and make a little tag. But I just thought it was interesting, so I put it in here for fun. And then on the other side here, this is where the flap is, and I had this flower, Tim Holtz flower, clipped on here because I wanted to kind of decorate this envelope, but I also wanted to leave it for someone to decorate. I'm trying to leave most of the decorating for whoever gets the journal, because that's really the fun part, right? Don't you think? So there's a flower card here in this pocket, and a journaling card just made from scraps. And then this is a center, pretty piece of scrapbook paper. This one I sprayed pink on the back. The other one I had sprayed green. And here are the middle little strings with some buttons. Pretty buttons, pink and blue. Okay, so we're on the back half, and then here is another card from that sewing book that I told you about with the models. It was definitely a crochet. See, they made these long scarves here. 1968, like I said, it has pretty yellow cardstock on the back. This is a little kind of fabric sampler or a fabric swatch sampler. So I just backed it with, I have this little slot punch now, and I think it looks like a card that came from, you know, the store like you would see. And then I put some little fabric scraps on here and just pinned it on so you could take it off. You know, you could sew these on and then they would be permanent. And it would be fun to just have these little pieces, but I thought if I pin it on, then you can take them off and use them elsewhere. So there's 4 little pieces of fabric from my little fabric scrap bin. And so, yeah, a good way to use up your scraps. Make some little fabric swatch cards like that. I thought that was fun. Another piece of pink rickrack here. Here's a little guest check where I sewed on some little squares. This is another thing I do with my fabric scraps. I take my pinking shears and cut little squares out, and I have a little bag. Actually, I still have it right here, and keep this handy here in my craft room. So when I need a little topper or a little cluster or something, I have all these little fabric, because there's some rectangles in there too, but all these little fabric squares are ready to use, you know what I mean? So I sewed across there and stitched those on. Did I show the page from a sewing booklet or a sewing book? And this is a pink food color dyed guest check. And then here's another pocket where we have pretty pink paper to write on and a scrappy tag. And that's a nice tall one there. Sewing pages from different things. Here's a button card with this long strip here. These are I think these make great trim. So I put that there, and so yeah, isn't that cool? That's that end page from one of my sewing books. And this here was an envelope, and I really loved it, and I was trying to figure out where I wanted to put it, so I put it right here. I think, see, this looks like mid-century modern, and so I think it's from maybe the 50s, and I love the colors here, and then these little starbursts. That's, you know, I remember my mom had some dishes with the little starburst on them, so that is very familiar to me, and I really love it. So I put the envelope, see, this is a sewing book page, and I put the envelope, I glued the back onto this page and made a little pocket here. So, and it says on this is Dressmaker's carbon tracing paper. That's what came in this envelope. And it says 4 for 99 cents at JCPenney. So I thought that was a cute, a neat remembrance of JCPenney. Used to have apparently a, you know, sewing, probably more than they do now, sewing department. And then here's some scraps. Now I did this in my journal, so I thought I would do it here. I like, when I get done with the journal, I gather up all the little scraps and put them in pockets so that when I'm decorating or putting in pictures and need a little mat somewhere for a picture, I have my pretty scraps. So I put my pretty scraps in here for someone to use, pink, blue, and yellow. So those are in that pocket right now. And then you can also store things in there. So yeah, I thought that was fun. A fun little page there. That green paper. Here I have on this, this is a page from a sewing book, but here I have a pretty paper clip that I recently made and a bookmark. It says, well, I'm not going to take it off, I'll leave it on there, but it says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, Leonardo da Vinci." And it looks like someone made this and laminated it. I got it at a thrift store, so I thought it was pretty, and it's got kind of, well, let me take it off because it's so cute on the other side. But here's one side. See, it looks like someone colored it with a marker or something, but isn't it pretty? Maybe they made it from, I don't know what they made it from, but it's really cute. It's got a little, maybe it's just made that way because it's got a kind of a copyright down there, but it's just, maybe it's made to look like somebody, you know, made it, but maybe they really didn't. I don't know. All I know is I got it at a thrift store and I thought it was really pretty. And who knows how old it is. It could be old, could be new. Okay, and then Here's that other end page from a sewing book. I just thought this was really pretty here, and a nice surface to glue something on. Sewing page here with the pom-pom trim. Here's the onion skin paper I was telling you about with the typing on it. This is all that was typed on there, but it's some instructions, some sewing instructions that somebody typed out on here, and they stapled it into their sewing book, like a paper booklet sewing book. So I just thought that was neat, and you know, it's onion skin paper. I'd say here's the last page, the wallpaper page. So like, you know, I didn't cover this up because first of all, I think it's cool. But if you wanted to cover up, you could do something like that, or glue something over paper or whatever over the sewing instructions, or you could just write right on top of that, or glue whatever you want on here. But here's another of the journaling cards made from that sewing book with those cute 1968 models and their crocheted hats. And most of these, I left the name underneath of the hats they're wearing. They have them on here, and the numbers and everything. So I thought that was really cool to have the numbers and the names on there. And this is the other piece I was telling you about that looked like, when I cut it out, it looked like a sewing tag. Hats, scarves, and mittens. That was up on the top. A little banner on the top of this booklet with that other piece that I made into a clothing tag. So don't you love the font on there? And that's backed with blue cardstock. And then a little yo-yo here. And then back here, you know, here's this other part of that border. Isn't it cool with the sewing machine? And you've got some yarn here. I did put a little doily here too. And then, you know, I already told you about the pocket. And then in this pocket, I have a fabric tag that I had made with several different pieces of sewing. I made this tag during a collab that was about sewing stitches. I can't think of the name of it right now, I would tell you, but I hand stitched all of these little X's here and just put these little pieces of fabric together, and it was a lot of fun. There's some buttons that are sewn on. I sewed on the fabric and then glued it down to some cardstock so it could be a nice sturdy tag, but you can see how cute that turned out with all the little fabric pieces. And then this is another piece from that sewing booklet with the models, but this one had her face cut in half, and that's the way they had it, so I left it and used it, and I think it's really cute anyway. So even though they cut her face off, it's got the cute mittens and the scarf there, and the name of them, well, it just says Mittens and Scarf Set, number AC9. So anyway, this was fun. I do have a little goodie envelope to go through with you real quick, but it comes with all of that. You know, it's pretty, you know, chunky with all the goodies in there, but of course it'll be, when you take those out and start decorating, it'll be back to normal. But in here, I tried to put some fun, really fun goodies in here. So this is a little post-it note that is a sticky note. They used to use these a long time ago. They don't use these anymore. I don't believe. I never used those in my office, but I remember seeing other offices use those. Game card here says 6 o'clock. This is a Candyland game card that has a cupcake on it. This is a little place, you know, marker for a table. It says it has a line and table, but I like to fold these in half, and you can write inside and you can decorate. I have one in one of my journals recently that I decorated. And then a Rolodex card, a blue one. It's like almost like index card size there, and a smaller one. These are vintage. These are all old. Game piece, memory card, a pretty flowered or floral playing card, some pink tickets, and a pink flashcard. So I hope you enjoyed this sewing journal. It will be in my shop when you see this video. And I think I really like how the laminating turned out. So I am planning on making, I have so many sewing patterns, so I really am planning a lot for 2023 to make a lot of these just like this. I really like how this turned out. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day. Happy crafting.